get ready for week 6. Seems like the season's flying by. Came off, it was a tough, hard-fought game on Saturday. Thought both teams played really physical, really hard, and as we discussed post-game, really proud of the way our team battled and fought and came out and won that game. Ran 105 plays, which was probably was an all-time record here of plays run, I believe, and that's a lot of plays. We're pretty physically. It was a pretty tough game. I think we're physically, beat up a little bit right now. I'm not going to get into the injury thing. I don't have anything to get into other than the fact that I hope everybody's ready to go. But that game certainly was a price to pay for that game. On the flip side of that, I thought that we've been in some real tough contests, and I think that makes you better. If you can stay healthy, it makes you better. And, so I think we're kind of a team that's leathered up a little bit. We're playing NC State. They're undefeated. Quarterback's among the elite in the country right now in terms of touchdown passes thrown and passing efficiencies. He's outstanding. He's got a great receiving core. So they're explosive. Defensively, they're one of the top teams in the country stopping the run and defensive scoring. So this is a really good team that appears to be healthy, playing at a high level. We're going to go down there on the road and find a way to compete against them and beat them. So that's the goal. Give us a chance to start out 2-0 in the conference, which would be for the first time in I think a fair amount of time as well. So, but our work's cut out for us, and we got a big week ahead of us here. Tomorrow will be a big day for us, as it typically is, and we'll grind through the week trying to continue to attack the spots that we feel like we need to improve in, and continue to grow in all areas. So I'm happy to answer any of you guys' questions.
Anything you can tell us about AJ or Jeff? I mean,
not really. I mean,
practice or anything?
I don't know. I just don't know yet. As I said, I think we got a lot of guys with a lot of dings right now, and that's the result of being in a lot of tough games. So probably have more information as the week goes on, but right now I'm hoping to have everybody, and hoping that we get on the mend pretty quick here, but usually I get better feel for that by tomorrow. I wouldn't expect some of these guys to be practicing tomorrow, to be honest with you, but I don't think that's a reflection on whether they'll necessarily be ready to play for Saturday. But I think, just that's what happens when you get 5 games into a tough physical season. We go on the road playing a Big Ten team and come back in here and play a really big athletic Temple team. I mean, we're not, we've been in some tough games.
We can shift gears. Just talk about Ryan Finley. I mean, amazing numbers.
Yeah.
Touchdown to
Right.
reception ratio,
I'm with you.
completion percentage.
Good player. I mean,
What do you see?
I can remember talking to one of the pro coaches and telling me that they really like him. They feel like he'll be a good pro player. I mean, he's a good quarterback. He's accurate. He sees the field well. He throws it really well. I mean, he is maybe the best quarterback in the league. And I'm just, certainly one of them. And he's experienced. He's good. Those guys are tough when you play those guys. That's a tough order. That's what you're hoping, right? And that when your quarterback is one of those elite guys, it usually makes all the difference in the world. So they're playing with a heck of a player, and they've got a good receiving core too. I mean, pretty talented here. I mean, Kelvin Harmon is outstanding. I mean, he's just to name one. So I mean, they've got the right combination.
Is it the right fit for Dave's system too?
I mean, Dave's had different systems down there since I've been here, and Dave's. I shouldn't say like different systems, but I mean, they had different styles of guys. I mean, they've had the the great backs, and I think when they had Matt Canada was in there, he had one kind of system of deal. I mean, so they're, you know, they've like all of us, I think you have to evolve and just evolve with who your talent is, who your personnel is, and everything else. But and he's done a great job. I mean, Dave's a great guy, great coach. I've done a fantastic job there, and they've recruited well and acquired talent well. So, you know, like they lost a good chunk of their defense, but with what I see on tape, they've done an unbelievable job recruiting. So I thought they had some, you know, big, strong, physical guys interiorly last year, just to name a spot. And all of a sudden you look and you say, like, did those guys, are they still here or did they leave? I mean, they're pretty dominant interiorly. So they got good players, which is good recruiting. And, you know, so I think it's the same on both sides of the ball. This is a talented football team. They're one less game than us. They're, you know, I guess they canceled that West Virginia game, that non-conference game there. So they're one down. They've had one less, you know, series of injuries. That, you know, I mean, that can be a plus. It can probably be a minus too. It's just hard to know. It's hard to know.
Coach, development over the course of the year since you're coming up on the halfway point, how do you characterize, you know, where your team is now versus back in August when you started camp?
Well, you know, I'd say we're one game down. We're where we wanted to be at this point, honestly. But overall, I think we're explosive on offense. I mean, we're trying to, you know, I was disappointed. I thought we let our tempo dip down. We picked that right back up last week and set a record here for the amount of plays we ran. I think the quarterback's come back from his injury. You know, for the most part, I think he's done a fabulous job. You know, AJ picked up from last year and has had some really good performances. I like where our line is right now. I think our line is playing outstanding. Tight ends look great. We've made improvement at the receiver position. I think on defense, you know, I think on the positive side of things, you know, we're high up there in the categories of sacks. We're high up there in the categories of TFLs. We're high up there in the categories of interceptions. But I think we got to do a better job of stopping the run. And I would say that's an area that, you know, we've traditionally, you know, we've been strong at, and we've got to, you know, I think we got to do a better job tackling and playing fundamentally. But, you know, probably part of the issue for us a little bit is, you know, we're a 12 team on offense. They see 12 a lot, and we see a lot of 11 in our conference. So we've got to keep growing there and getting better there. And we got to get, you know, going to continue to emphasize tackling and some run fit schemes to help us there. But overall, I think we've improved from training camp. I think we're heading in a good path. I always say this, so it's not something new. You know, what I fear sometimes in this conference is, you know, for anybody, it's not just us, you got to stay healthy. You know, you start taking on some water with injuries, and it really changes the, you know, the makeup of your team in a hurry. So we're going into Game 6. I'd say we're dinged up. Hopefully that, you know, we can get all our guys back, because we're going now into conference play. You'd like to have your full arsenal. So would a lot of people. And it's not, you know, it's not, you know, we're not the only ones. But that's part of the game right about now, is getting a little bit of good fortune and staying ahead on that. Yeah.
You mentioned just the fundamental side of it. Is that something that you can look at different players or different schemes and coach to it, or is it more looking at your guys and saying, all right, if you get a bigger back, try to hit them a little higher or lower, or how do you kind of get into that with the defense?
Well, I think tackling is a problem, because, you know, as I look more today than, say, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we did a lot more tackling. No one really tackles anymore, you know, and we're all trying to keep our guys healthy, so we feel like if we keep them up and off the ground, and you just don't tackle as much as you used to. And I think tackling, you know, isn't as good. And it's like anything else. You want to be good at something, you got to do it. You know, like we tag off a lot in 7-on-7. I don't like it, but we do it just because, you know, we can't take the injuries. But I'm going to put a little more emphasis on it this week, just because when you see something that you think needs to, I'm just a believer. You know, not that this is any rocket science, but I mean, if I see something that I don't like, then I'm going to address it, and I'm going to, okay, we got to fix it. not just say, hey, that's not good enough. Okay, so it's not good enough, and we want to make it better, so how are we going to make it better? Let's set the practice, the drills, the periods, and we'll have to emphasize that more, because it's not, to me, it's not where it should be. So that's just kind of mindset that I have about attacking things. I'm not a guy that likes to let things just talk about them. If there's a problem, identify it and go to work on it. And I think we need to go to work there a little bit, and I think part of that is offensively we have the capability for sure to give our defense more looks in 11 grouping. We can do that. It's not what we particularly do, but we certainly can. And I think that we need to probably do a better job of giving them more full speed looks within more of the styles of runs that they're getting in this conference, which, you know, we're not, in my past I've been in them, but I'm not in them right now. And I think that will help our defense a little bit, you know. So I think the combination of tackling a little better, continue to develop our fundamentals a little better, maybe giving them a little bit better, faster looks from our own offense against our defense will help, I think, with the speed of that whole thing better. We've got good players, and we're doing a lot of good things on defense. And when you look at us on defense, as I said, I started out, we're leading sacks, we're leading in TFLs, we're leading in interceptions, a lot of good things. We're explosive, but the consistency it needs to get better. We need to get off the field, you know. Like on offense, we're trying to stay on the field, and I thought we did a better job of that. But on defense, we need to get off the field because, you know, it's just compounding. You get tired, you get exhausted, you get 6, 7, 8 plays in the drive, and, you know, next thing you know, you're a little gassed, and you don't get in the gap quite right, and they slice you.
Any update on the kicking situation? I know Danny got in there on Saturday, kicked the first field goal of the year, but he's still not listed on the depth chart at field goal kicker.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I should look at that, huh? I think hopefully we get Colton Lichtenberg back this week. Okay, you know, this is the time of year where you got to make some decisions, right? Because guys have played in 4 games, so you try and not be careful here. Danny, you know, because of Colton's injury, Danny has to kick off because that's that you know, hard striking deal that got Colton injured in the first place. So, you know, we have to play Danny this year. We have to play him if for no other reason. We have to play him, so he has to kick off. So, you know, I have to look at with John. I don't want to blow a year on a guy if I don't have to. So, you know, we put Danny in there. I mean, I anticipated that we're going to have to make a decision moving forward here. And I knew it probably the way this thing would probably go because Danny is not. I have to play him. So if we, you know, I want to see Danny kick a couple extra points and a couple, you know, I want to see him in that role while I had that last week to mess around with this thing. And then and in my back pocket, I know that I have Colton allegedly coming back this week. So I felt like, you know, if that's how that were to play out, then I could preserve John's redshirt year, if that's the way that plays out. So I would say that's my mindset moving forward right now. But, you know, you don't know what tomorrow brings. You know, someone could fall off a skateboard out here in front of Yawkey, and the next thing you know, you got to reshuffle the deck again, right? So, but I think it'll play out like I said, that we'll probably have Colton back in some field goal capacities, and then I'll have to make that decision. I can't even evaluate that really because I haven't seen him kick in maybe 4 weeks or something like that. You know, and I'll play it by ear. So that's the adjustment there. I thought we improved a lot. You know, it's kind of a weird, probably listening to me like, what are you talking about? Like, we've improved a lot in our special teams each week right now. The problem is we have these bizarre things going on right now that, you know, make everybody focus on what's going on in special teams. I mean, you know, we dropped a punt that was in our hands, going from our hand to our foot. I mean, I guess I'll have to address that. I'm not sure what the fix of that is, but and then Mike Walker, who's been fabulous on the return game and was fabulous Saturday on the punt return game, but he took a hard shot, you know, when he was going down and coughed the ball up, and it ends up. We might leave the country and Scoop scores against us. I don't know. I'd like to see that happen for us a couple of times. Maybe we go Scoop and score a couple of quick 7 points. That'd be a nice thing. But it is what it is. So they scooped and scored 7 on us, and we survived the punt debacle because I think we intercepted them or maybe that was when we had to hit the throwing arm forward for a fumble. I don't remember which one it was there, but, so we survived one of the two events. Usually, when you do those two things, they both usually end up not good, So we need to eliminate that. That needs to stop happening. It's happening. It's making me sick to my stomach, really, to be honest with you. So, I mean, it's going to have to come to a screeching halt here.
Steve, you talked about the redshirt rule. If AJ is potentially out on Saturday, would you think about turning to David Bailey?
Yes, 100%. We made a decision with David that in our minds we'd like to play David. Now, you still have some games to mess around with that, I guess, but that moving forward, our mindset is to play David Bailey. I mean, no matter what. Kind of like we were doing with AJ last year, not quite on the same pace we were with AJ, maybe a little slower here, but because we've been in some we would have liked to have gotten David in, the last couple of weeks. Probably should have. But at this juncture, I would say that we're certainly in our minds leaning towards playing David Bailey this year, but we do have the luxury, I guess, of at least another game for sure. I got to look at it. I keep a chart on it all. So, yeah.
Coach, how do you assess how physical practices should be in a week like this when, on one hand, you're coming off a game where you said was extremely physical, a lot of guys are dinged up. On the other hand, you've got kind of this tackling issue which requires you to be physical. So how do you balance that?
I think the tackling issue, I think you can attack without putting the whole team in harm's way, right? You set up some tackling drills and things like that. I didn't want to insinuate that we were going to go out tomorrow and start tackling each other. That won't happen, but we will put them in drills to tackle. So, we'll probably have our DBs and linebackers in some much more aggressive tackling drills on Tuesday. In terms of the physicality of the week, last week I was jacked up about our week. I really was. I felt like the week before I made a mistake. I felt that, I pulled back the reins a little bit. It was probably too early in the season to do it. I did it for the right reasons. But in hindsight, maybe it wasn't right. And so this week I decided, this past week, that we were going to go out. We had a legitimate Tuesday. I call it a bloody Tuesday. It was a tough, rough Tuesday. And then we had a tough Wednesday. And I'd say the assessment of that, when you look back on it, was that we got a little better again. Now, here we are in a new week. I'm not sure that, I love nothing more than to go out Tuesday, to be honest with you, and have a rough Tuesday. I would love nothing more than that. I'm not sure we can do it. I'm not sure that's real. So you just, I just try to do the best I can to take the information I have each week and make a decision. It's not always right, but with the information that I have, I've got to make those decisions. And I haven't made it yet for tomorrow. Now, it's not like we're not going to have a tough day, but there's tough and then there's real tough. I'm not sure we'll have the bodies to make that overly productive tomorrow. And I don't have enough information, as I said. That's why I said I really can't give you any information to make those decisions just yet. But it's a valid question, and these are the things that, as a head coach, you've got to assess and do the best you can with the information you have to make the best decision for your team. And obviously, when you win, you think what you did was really good, and when you lose, you go back and you say, gee, I wish I did it a different way, and that's the benefit of hindsight. But I got to look through the front windshield here, so, to me, we're probably not going to have the most physical Tuesday. It's probably not going to happen, but we'll see.
Coach, just for background, you mentioned 11 versus 12 personnel. Can you just define that a little bit better?
Sure. Everybody uses different terminology, but essentially one tight end, okay, in the game, and 3 wides, 1 back. That's 11. 12 is 2 tight ends, 2 wide outs, right, and a back. And you can go into what's 21 then. Well, 21 is really like 12, but a lot of people categorize it differently because in some people's mind, 21 means it's a fullback, a tailback, and a tight end. We don't differentiate with that. Our guys are all one and the same, so I try to just call it 12 grouping. And sometimes we play in 13, which would mean 3 tight ends, right? But we play in a conference that's a lot of 11 and a lot of 10, which would be 0 tight ends. And, and those are more spread out teams. So, you know, we're different within our conference just by who we are. And but the good news for us is we have the mechanism in 12, because our tight ends are pretty, you know, we can get in these more spread out formations even though we're in 12 and run the styles of plays that our guys see, and we're just going to have to go back and do a little more of that. They're just, you know, we're not running a lot of read zones right now. I mean, I've done that in our past with Tyler Murphy. We were a big read zone team. But we're not running a lot of read zones right now. And, you know, we're not running a lot of read zones for a lot of reasons, one of which is I don't want to put our quarterback in that situation right now. But but we can, and we can do it really pretty well. So just have to assess how we can do that to help our defense a little more, since they see so much 10 and 11. It's unbelievable, you know. And, you know, so I got to look at that this week, and we'll adjust to that.